Here we go. And we're going to get it
Here
right first
we
time.
go.
First
Here
time
we
every
go
time.
again. Here we
Because
go.
I am so practiced at this. This is episode 18. And, this is 18 episodes where I've got this intro bang on first time every time. Hello and welcome to the HH Gaming podcast brought to you by hellhades.com. Today I am again joined by co-host of the show, Saf or Paul from the HH Gaming team. And today we're going to be talking about all the things that have been happening at I was doing so well. Hello and welcome to the HH Gaming podcast brought to you by hellhades.com. Today I am joined again by co-host. I'm starting again because my chair squeaked against the back.
Maybe I should just start like Darth Vader. It's like, Luke, I am your father.
Hello and welcome to the... I'm just looking at myself in my camera now. This is ridiculous. Right, stop looking at me. Hello and welcome to the HH Gaming podcast brought to you by hellhades.com. Once again, I am joined today by... That just sounded ridiculous. Hello and welcome to the HH Gaming podcast brought to you by hellhades.com. Today, I'm joined again by co-host of the show, Paul or Safira from the HH Gaming team. And we're going to be talking about things that have been going on within the Raid community and also what's been going on in New World this week. So Paul, how's your week been, dude?
Busy. It's been it was quiet. We've actually been waiting for the Halloween information now for probably about a week and a half. We had a little leak, didn't we? A screenshot, a non-official leak, as they like to call it.
Non-official. Where did that come from? Because I saw it got kind of distributed amongst Discord and things like that. Was it an advert?
I'm not entirely sure. Someone had sent it to me via a DM because I apparently am the greatest source of all direct messaging. And it was obviously, we checked it with Plarium and they were like, yeah, it is official, but not ready.
Yeah.
It's something like that. They said it is right, but it's not ready to come out.
from the game, but we're not willing to tell you what it is. And
we weren't ready, I think the word was.
Yeah, and everyone knew that it was Halloween. I mean, you could see that the guy was had bats around him and he was red.
It was obvious. It was whether or not it was a credible Halloween, credible raid source, or whether it was just someone trying to mock up something like the photoshopped dupe system and other things like that.
Yeah.
So that's where it came from. Obviously, we looked at it, and I would say we probably tried to maybe look a bit too far into what it could do based off one image. It was like, well, it's doing bats, so that must mean it's going to do something. We don't actually have a clue.
Yeah, you get the full-on deep dive into what does this image tell us, and at the end of the day, it told us nothing, guys.
It didn't tell us anything other than the fact it looked like it had an AoE ability, which it does. So we've been waiting for that. We got them, and then we've also got these surprisingly the Fragment Events, which the first one started today. Which I'm still a bit like, why do we have to make it conditional? It's almost like they're really valuing those fragments extremely hard. Like, I would normally get 15 fragments from a normal dragon tournament, but if I want to get them from this tournament, I have to only use epics, which is not necessarily difficult in the sense that most people will have some epics. But at the same time, why are you making it harder for all you're getting is fragments? And it's not like those fragments are a lot more than normal. It's not like you're getting 50, you're getting 15. So that's a bit surprising, but it's good that they're doing them.
I guess their intention is to do it as a way for people to just kind of finish up past fragments that they didn't finish. But at the same time,
which is why they've designed the tournament not to have anything else. Like, you look at it, it's basically gems, some forged charms, and then fragments. So they're basically almost trying to tell players, if you need fragments, you compete in this tournament. If you don't need fragments, we don't expect or want you to be competing in this tournament.
Yeah.
Which is okay, I guess. It's fun.
And it's almost like, I guess you've then got that option that, we know there's another fusion event coming that starts on the 28th, I believe.
Yeah, Thursday, the usual spot.
So we know that's coming. So if you were very close to a previous fragment and you want to, grab the last few fragment parts that you needed for that champion, then you have the option to do so. I'll be honest though, I don't really think that there's any groundbreaking ones. I mean, had they put in Brogni or something like that, I don't know.
Well, they were never going to do Brogni because if you look at the ones they've picked,
well, he was a standard fusion, wasn't he? But with the fragment fusion attached to him.
He wasn't really a fragment collector per se. He was a traditional fusion. It's just that they made the epics a fragment collector.
Yeah. Yeah.
But if we actually look at sort of what they've picked here, so Rorik is quite surprising because it's recent.
Yep.
Ruel and Vasolf. Now, Ruel is a great champion if people didn't pick him up, as is
Sure.
Vasolf. Vasolf is probably a top 3 ally protector in the game because he brings increased defense. He is like the leech version of Tyrant. If people don't have Tyrant, they can go that. So this is great. So if you missed them by a few, I think Hell Hades missed, either didn't go for Vasolf or got close to it. So that might be something he might think about.
Yeah.
Kreela Witcharm is a great champion. Yoshi is okay.
Kreela's very good. Yeah.
Could be useful. Iron Braga is an excellent champion.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's only the last one, which is the Ice Golem, but most people don't want the Ice Golem anyway. But I would say Elegaeus is an MVP for Faction Wars. Like he makes the difference. So, or she, I don't really know.
It's 2021.
And it is good,
he or
essentially.
She, or it can be whatever they want.
If they follow the pattern, it means every tournament, you're going to be able to get at least 15 without winning, and then an extra 5 if you win. So you just have to make the judgment. Can you beat it?
There is the catch that we have another fusion coming, and are you going to blow all your resources just to get that?
Yeah, but it's only 1,000 points, which is nice. You know,
yeah, but to win
got that in mind
to get that extra.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, to be honest, if you need to win the tournament to get the champion, then I would just finish on the 1,000 and see what your group looks like.
I mean, out of anything, actually, probably one of the biggest kind of curveballs that they've chucked in here, which actually I wish they would put next weekend, not this weekend, is the summon event with the guaranteed Madame Ceres.
Well, you mean the blow all your void shards before the 2 times void?
Exactly. It's just like we've got a 2 times void. For once, can they not just put an event out that makes sense?
It does make
community.
Sense.
Well, it makes sense for them, absolutely.
Because they want you to consume as many shards before you want to consume the shards.
Yeah.
And, it's a very clever way of doing it. Do I think it's bad that they do that? No, because essentially they open the door for you to get a guaranteed Madame if you don't have one, right? So you win either way. Either you don't do it and you have good self-restraint, and then you still have your shards, or you do it because you want a Madame Ceres, and great, 30 void shards, you guarantee that you get that champion. That's a great offer.
Yeah.
10 times is okay. There's some decent champions in there.
But the only thing that concerns me about that is the tactics, and I guess from their perspective, actually, I think even if you were to guarantee that Madame and they put it in the time of the 2 times void, I think they'd be more likely to sell shard packs because they're going to be trying to flog shard packs during that weekend anyway for void shards. If they put packs up for 30, or it's usually a packet of 10, and there's 3 times that you can buy it. They put those shard packs up. People may buy that just because they're at least going to get the Madame.
Because you could put it up now, people will buy it to get the Madame, and then they'll be tempted by the times 2, and then they'll be like, we don't know what this Constantine guy is going to be either. The second part of the fusion, is he another void legendary?
I was going to say, do you think he's going to be void? Because I mean, obviously, is it Vlad the Nightborn?
Vlad the Nightborn. The thing what we don't know about anything about this Constantine guy is we don't even know if he's a legendary. We assume he is because most of the pairings they do tend to be legendary with legendary.
Imagine him being common.
He literally could be an epic. We don't know. Like, we know he's a fragment collector, so we definitely know there's no additional epic. So it's just going to be another champion drop. It could be that, I think the patch would be a week after, so it's not going to be in a patch cycle unless they bring in a patch forward, which I can't imagine they'll do. So it's just going to be they're going to add a couple of more champions into the game by the looks of it. So it's a bit surprising to me. We don't know what this other guy is going to be. I'd imagine the content creators get access on the test server and they'll be allowed to release information soon. I don't know when that's going to be, probably a couple of days before.
That being said, has anyone actually had access to Vlad himself yet?
I don't know. The last I heard, it wasn't up.
I don't think he's on the test server yet. So whether we will have access to him, because actually even in the theory crafting community, as far as I'm aware, he's not even in the database yet. So
he's not.
So we actually have no idea how this guy hits. We've got an idea. Well, we know what his skills are because Plarium released them to us. So I guess overall, what's your general impressions of Vlad and the kit that he's going to be bringing to the table with this Halloween event?
So for me, I think the biggest mistake people tend to make when they see a champion without seeing all the information, Like all we know right now is the skills.
Yep.
We have no idea about base stats. We have no idea about books requirements. We have no idea about multiplier information. We have no idea about how much damage he's going to get from books. You know, we don't know we know he's an attack base, so we know he's likely to have a high base attack.
Yep.
All we really know is but the skills. So if you just take that as a point and you look at the skills and think, okay, well, what has he got? He's got an AoE 50% turn meter drop on a 4-turn cooldown. It's probably going to be booked to 100%. And that's probably at least going to be 1 cooldown. Now, here's the thing about the books that make a difference. If that's a 3-turn cooldown, then that's a strong ability, but it would probably need to be backed up by significant damage because he's attack based. So he's not going to be very tanky, right?
Yep.
His A3 is then a decreased defensive block active skills, which is a bit strange because it's single target. But I suppose if you had some sort of ability to basically take all the turn meter from like 2 of the opposing factions, because he's got that funky mechanic where if he hits a Bannerlord, a Sacred Order, or a High Elf, he'll steal the turn meter instead.
Yeah.
So if he attacks 2 of those champions, he'll get a full turn back, and then he could potentially follow up with an A3. Depending on how hard he hits, that might be good. We don't really know, right? So that's the difficulty of really assessing him right now. But if you think of that as a concept, and then if you think on his A1, he's got a heal, and he's got a passive where he's got a built-in revive on death, a bit like Krutraxa, essentially. Yep. That passive, they've just basically taken that, and then they've also put on this thing with Constantine, which I don't agree with. I actually think he has the potential to be very decent. If I'm in an early to mid game position, I'm looking at him, I'm going, that's a great addition to my roster. A 50% turn meter drop is huge.
Yeah,
you know, not many champions. You know, I'm thinking Sylar is probably the better one for it. You know, if you've got a Sylar already in your team, you're not going to probably swap him out because Sylar brings the decreased speed and 2 AoEs and decreased accuracy on an AoE as well, right? So it's too strong. But if he hits really hard, he could be an arena nuker, potentially. You know, probably not going to break into plat arena, but I like to think of the arena more than just plat. You know, he could potentially be an option for your goal for nuker if you don't have one in your account. You know, if you want to free up your starter for other things like campaign farming or whatever.
Sure.
But it's difficult to know until we see the data because we need to know how hard he hits. We need to know how fast he is. We need to know his base stats. We need to know how squishy he's going to be. But he is Void, which is the first time I think they've ever done a Void fragment or even a Void fusion. I don't think.
So Nick.
I think Sir Nick is the only other fusion, and Tormin.
Tormin, yeah.
But we're talking like way back, one of the OGs. Mm-hmm. They typically avoid doing Void legendaries on a fusion. So some people are obviously saying this is disappointing. You're diluting the Void legendary pool. It's already very hard to get them. I get that. But I think it's too early for us to make this champion is crap, this champion is great. The A2 is interesting to me. If I can steal 100% turn meter and be able to get an extra turn, it's essentially an extra turn, right? With a turn meter drop.
Yeah.
On an AoE, and it brings leech, so you're getting the healing. So that's really nice. But yeah, it's difficult. My first impression was, why would I take him when I can just bring Sylar? But then actually, if you look at the faction war scenario, if you don't have your Sifis, your Rotuses, and you're dealing with very limited champions in the Undead Hordes, 7 of the 10 champions on the waves are from Bannerlord, Sacred Order, and High Elf.
Ah, interesting. Actually, I didn't really put much thought into that.
Yeah, so that's why they've picked those 3 because you're essentially guaranteed an extra turn every time you do A2 on those waves. It's only the Valkyries you have to deal with.
Yep.
So that's well designed. I don't know. I'm on the fence at the moment because I haven't got all the information. I think potentially he could be great, but he could also be potentially not very good at all. But he's also a fragment collector, so he's easier to acquire.
Yeah. I mean, and historically, fragment collectors have kind of been on the easier side versus the traditional fusions. So there is always that. And actually, I mean, from my personal experience of doing the fragment collectors, as long as you log on, play the games and the game and do the events,
you're normally okay.
Yeah, you normally just get him by default anyway.
Yeah. So the last few ones you can essentially skip.
Yeah.
20 fragments normally.
It was a lot, yeah. And actually, the events that they were running weren't particularly difficult to even meet the requirements.
They're
anyway.
About 2,000. Like a tournament's average 1,800, 2,000.
Yeah.
So if you can skip 20 fragments, that's either an entire training event normally,
which
or an
is
entire
what I would skip.
Yeah, or an entire summoning event. So you could skip one of the Summon Rush or the Champion Chase, depending on what you feel, or you can skip 4 tournaments. So if you decided I don't want to do Ice Golem, normally there are some given ones in there. They normally put 2 arena tournaments on. That's like 10 without even trying. You push play in the game. Dragon is normally fairly straightforward to do. Dungeon Divers, they're normally pretty accessible. So I think the Fragment Collector, if it's not going to be an amazing champion like Brogni, is a better solution because people can just go, you know what? It's not too much effort. And worst case scenario, if you hate the champion, it's 30,000 points for your clan versus clan. So
True.
what more, or actually, if you think about it, 650 points towards champion chase because it's a void legendary, which is higher than a normal legendary.
Yeah, that's not a bad shout, actually. I didn't really think about that.
Yeah. But, so that's my opinion on it. Now, I'm more interested to see how good the Constantine guy is going to be, because let's face it, that's probably going to be the better champion that everyone wants, because you're going to have to pull shards for him.
Yes.
So,
and as well as that, it'd be interesting to see what kind of interaction Constantine's actually got with Vlad. Because usually when one works with one, the other works with the other, sort of thing.
There's some sort of relationship. Yeah. If we think like Astralon and Lix is probably the most recent one, is it?
Yes.
Or do they do something on Valentine's Day? Cardial was the Valentine's one, wasn't it? Cardial with other people. I can't remember. Anyway, the Countess Lix one, it's kind of like if Astralon A1s, then Countess Lix A1s with it. If Astralon is with Lix, they clear debuffs. Yeah. So there's like one of them will do one thing, another one will do another thing, but together they will do different things. You've also got like Bellinor and Zarvia have a weird interaction. You've got
almost gearing up for a tag team challenge.
Yeah, exactly. So it'll be interesting to see what he does. And I was actually quite surprised we didn't get the release with both of them together, because I think that would have generated a bit more hype. Then again, you could be absolutely trash. So
yeah. As I say, you put him out, and turns out he's actually a common coming into the game. Congratulations, guys! Enjoy. You now have to pair your Vlad the Impaler up, or not Vlad the Impaler, is it Vlad the Nightborn?
The Nightborn. I know. I'm thinking Vlad the Impaler every time.
I know. It just came out. It's just like, okay, yeah, it's Dracula.
Although we have to say, we've got to talk about the face, haven't we? We can't ignore the face.
I mean, they've set the standard with Ninja, and
I think the other faces are normally okay. He just looks like I don't know. He looks like he's meant to be in the cast of Die Hard or something, with his like pristine blonde villain
I've heard
hair.
a lot of people referencing the Twilight Saga, as
I can see that
resembling the whatever
the Volturi.
Whatever the guy's name is.
I really shouldn't say that. I sound really sad.
I was going to say I wouldn't pretend to know what I'm talking about when it comes to Twilight, but
the Volturi. What's his name? Oh, I can't remember his name now. It's been a while since I read those books.
I mean, I'm not talking about the books. I'm talking about the movies.
All right, show me up now. The books are really good, actually. It's well worth a read.
I can't read, if I'm honest.
Okay, wow, that's a revelation for this podcast.
Yeah. Absolutely.
You cannot read.
Yep.
I feel like you're just trying to save your embarrassment because you've read Twilight.
Yeah. No, I think the last set of books that I genuinely read was the Philip Pullman's His Dark Materials.
Yeah, I actually too heavy for me.
I loved those books. I thought that they were incredible.
It's like Game of Thrones. I started reading one and I was just like, this is going to take a while. And I'm not really, I wasn't that committed to it after I'd already seen the TV series.
Yeah, I tend to listen to audiobooks rather than actually sit and read novels or anything like that. So, like if I go out for a walk or something like that, I actually really like listening to audiobooks. I'm actually currently listening to Dave Grohl's autobiography, which is amazing if you're into Foo Fighters and Nirvana and things like that. So that is something that I'm listening to at the moment, which is absolutely incredible. Slight tangent there, but definitely worth a listen or a read. And I know Will Smith is about to release a book as well, which I'm probably gonna.
I'm not a fan of autobiographies. I got to say, I find them.
I really enjoy them, especially when they're about people who have done something like really cool. Like I listened to Steve Jobs, his book, which was amazing. Who else? Richard Branson's. He's got quite a few books. And I tell you one which I really, really enjoyed, because we're just flying off on this tangent now, is Bear Grylls. his sort of upbringing and how he went from jumping out of an aeroplane and his parachute not coming out to breaking his back, being told he would never walk again, to climbing Everest and becoming, the man who drinks his own pee.
Okay. How did we even get to Bear Grylls?
Who knows?
Who knows?
But the man, the myth, the legend himself. So, yeah. So, I guess obviously at the moment we're moving back onto the subject of raid and the Halloween event and stuff like that. Obviously, we've seen the information on Vlad. For the people who are listening to the podcast or watching the podcast and they don't necessarily know what abilities that he's got, what's the actual rundown of his skills? So his
A1 is going to be a bit like of a Scaraboss style. It's got a decreased max HP. If you think of an E3, A3, he'll heal with it, but he won't AoE. So it's a single target, 30% heal, 30% max HP drop.
Mm-hmm.
His A2 is probably his signature move, AoE, 100% leech probably when you book it. We're saying probably because we don't know the books, but it's 75%. I would imagine
and
it'd be silly if it's not.
It's the A2 that interacts with the other factions, is that right?
Yeah, so if he attacks an enemy who is of a Bannerlord, Sacred Order, or High Elf faction, he will steal 50% turn meter.
Yeah.
If then of an other faction, any other one, he'll drop 50% turn meter. So regardless of what happens, that A2 is essentially a 50% turn meter drop for the enemies.
Yep.
And then the last ability he's got is his A3, which will be a single target, decreased defense, probably booked to 100%, and a block active skills debuff. The interaction we were talking about earlier about Constantine is if he kills an enemy and Constantine is on the team, he will fully heal and he will give himself, I think, 50% turn meter. If Constantine is not on the team, he won't do that. And all he will do is his standard passive, which is gives himself a revive on death if he kills someone. So it's a bit like the Krutraxa passive. If Krutraxa kills someone, she gets revive on death. So it'll be interesting to see what Constantine does. I think his signature move is the A2. He's void legendary attack. Theoretically, he should have high base attack, should hit hard, but it's whether or not he's going to hit hard enough to justify his position. Like when we talk about where will he fit in the game, in Arena, if you want to void legendary to attack, we almost set Ethos as the trademark. So that's the number he needs to hit for DPS. But what he doesn't have and what Ethos does have is a secondary AoE. So the problem you have right now in certainly high-end Arena is you can't really go, I've nuked them, they're all dead, because of reaction, because of swift parry, because of some other mechanics, Asuga super tanks. So he has to first hit hard enough to be able to take down
that was a mouthful, Asuga super tanks. I like that.
Asuga super. It's essentially it. Like my Asuga on my account is not a Kraken level. It's sitting on 110,000 HP.
Wow.
And she's going to eat 30% of your crit damage. So you've got to first burn through that. You think the way to look at it is like a massive sort of EHP pool that you have to eat through to be able to start hitting the DPS. So he's going to have to break through that barrier. Then he's going to also need to kill people. Now, the problem is if they've got swift parry, that is not going to work. If they've got reaction, is he going to hit hard enough to be able to just do it non-crit? That's the problem with him. Now, if he's obviously attacking, say, an Arbiter Lysandra team, he's going to get an extra turn. So technically, you could go Arbiter Lysandra, nuke them. If the Arbiter's got swift parry, for some reason, you could do the A3 to basically stop her reviving. If he kills both of them, but the nuker doesn't have it, you could do A3 to block the nuker's ability. There's flexibility there for that particular comp, but it's whether or not it's actually going to fit. And that's why we really need to see the damage numbers. And I know a lot of plat players will probably go, not worth my time, because it doesn't have some built-in mechanics. Like it doesn't have block revive, or doesn't have an extra AoE, or doesn't have a survivability thing. He's got revive on death if he kills someone. But if the person doesn't die because they're super tanks or because they've got swift parry reaction, blah, blah, blah,
then he's in trouble.
Yeah, which is why we're starting to see in Plat Arena now far less Thunder usage, because it's not about going first or being fastest or being able to hit harder. It's actually about being able to survive and go again, to get past the reaction, to get past the swift parry.
Makes sense.
Which is a bit of a learning curve for me trying to push Plat right now.
Are you actually going for Plat, are you?
Sorry, 3v3.
Oh, I was going to say.
I'm on the mission to get to Gold 1 in 3v3 in advanced missions. And if anyone else has been in the same boat as I have, it is a hellhole. It is worse than Gold 4 in Arena.
Yeah.
When you were trying to get that Arbiter mission done. worse than that by a mile. Just because it, like the gold 1 and silver 4 teams, they are not easy. No. You know, you are facing Tormins, Siffis, Rotuses, you're facing Hegemons, you're facing basically Duchesses. And I don't have those meta champions, unfortunately. So I'm having to find workarounds, and Mortu Macabre right now is my hero. So
awesome.
He's a horrible thing to face in PvE, but God, is he fun when you put him in PvP. It's like, oh, so you've activated my passive. 1 second, you're dead. You're not coming back. Except for Lydia. Lydia kind of does weird stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that I actually think, you know, anyone looking at it, there was a lot of negativity when they first saw the kit, and I was quite keen for people to understand. Take your time, wait for the full information.
It really makes me wonder what people are expecting with these new champions in the game. Yeah, but even Brogni, when he first came out, nobody said that he was going to break the game.
I think it's because they didn't understand the Giant Slayer interaction with his shield, right?
Yeah.
And they didn't obviously it took playtesting to realize how the A2 actually was broken, because it would interact with shield sets differently.
Yeah.
You know, for context, for people who haven't seen the Infinity comp, essentially the A2 will grow shields by 30% of the damage it deals. But what we didn't realize is the shield set and the shield skill are considered 2 separate shields when he does that. So essentially, instead of getting a one-time growth, you're getting twice the amount of growth. This is how the Infinity comp gets really high really quickly, where you see the 700 million damage that Victor does, because essentially he's doubling his shield every time, when it should only be 1, I guess.
Yeah.
But they've clearly not nerfed it. So it's that's the difference between reading someone's kit and then actually playing with it and understanding how it works and understanding the data behind it.
Yeah. And I think the other piece of advice really that's kind of outshines every other thing is that we don't know what's going to happen with these champions in the future. So if you do have the ability to get it, which with these fragment fusions, they are the more achievable of the 2 type of collectors that get put out here each month, then just make sure you get it, because you know, you don't want to be sat here like me, where I skipped Brogni because I was just too busy at the time to do it. Now I can't build these ridiculous teams in Clan Boss.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, I've got a Bat Eater, so I'm far from in the worst situation, but it would be cool to be able to build them.
It's things like, you think Vizix, right? Vizix, when it was released, was a bit of a joke. People are like, I don't really want that. It's a stupid Void Legendary.
Well, yeah.
She's actually really good now.
Yeah.
She's probably top tier for a lot of Doom Tower teams, you know.
Well, Mishaald as well. When he first came out, he was Crypt King just got buffed.
Was memed on as basically the only reason people used him.
So
the only people used him is when they released Spider 25 was to enable Sissia. They didn't put any gear on him. They didn't use him for anything else. They just basically put him in there just to enable Sissia. So now I would argue he's probably one of the top 20 legendaries in the game, just because of what he can do. And they didn't really change too much. They just tweaked his build. If they're going to tweak any champion, it's going to be a Void Legendary. So you shouldn't really skip it just because you think he's not useful, because you just never know what's going to happen. People find different ways of doing things all the time. The only time I would always, I've actually only missed 1 fusion since I started playing the game. And that was the last one, because Demitha is too broken. Demitha is literally god tier epic. Probably I would say the best epic in the game. I'm probably over exaggerating. I'm biased right now, but she's so good. I was going to
say a few people might question that one, but
she goes into every team apart from Griffin, and she will make that team unkillable because of her A2. I put her into my Sorath team last night. Sorath, I think it was 70. I didn't put any decreased attack. I didn't put any sort of major defensive things. I think I had Brogni with Lydia, so that's a bit of defense with strengthen, but there's no increased defense. And Brogni would get to like 20% HP, and she just A2s and he's 100% HP again. Yeah, literally could not kill her. The only thing that would kill the team is if she got frozen, so I put resist on her. You can make clan boss comps. I was just talking to some of Deadwood's community, some of his senior guys there who are big brain trust, and we are coming up with more comps for Demitha even now still. We've got a fancy Batman salad Demitha type of thing without Seeker.
Are we going to see something else in the Science Club with her?
Well, I don't know. Well, we'll see what we want to do. It's not my tune. That I've just adapted it for Face Melter at the moment. We're looking at it at the moment to see if we can make sure it's affinity friendly. But I need 2 more legendary books for my Turvold, which is really frustrating because I don't want to buy shards. I would probably buy some book packs right now because I need like just 2 more to get the cooldowns. They've all landed on everything but the cooldowns right now. And that is going to be fun then to see what Turvol can do in that kind of comp. But to me, if people went and got, I've said it before, if people went and got that legendary Sigmund, they're crazy to give up the Mytha. She's so good. Literally so good for any account at any level. I think even has some viability in arena. I just haven't figured it out yet. Just because her heal is so crazy.
Yeah.
No, 150,000 heals is what I got. And that was ridiculous. Not even trying. Crazy. Sorry, I had to go on a Demitha rant. That's my Demitha moment. She is like Queen Bee, best epic. 2021.
I want to see a for Science Club just on her.
I probably should actually.
I think that would probably be cool. Just have a
special episode.
Yeah, a for Science special episode with the champion spotlight specifically on,
how broken Demitha is.
Champions like, but as well as that, other champions like her as well.
There's no one like her. No, don't put her in that box. Champions like Demitha. What is the statement?
There's none. It's just her.
She's no, but she's really good is the fact that she has so much sustain, but she also has block damage. So she has usability everywhere. If you know you're going to take a nasty hit, you think Bommel. People were doing the tower comp. Well, you could probably do a Demitha comp with that now, where she puts the block damage just at the right time. When you take a lot of damage, if you've got the buffs, what do? Heal straight back up. If you've got debuffs, what does she do? Reduces the duration, heals back up. The only thing she doesn't do, obviously, is stop the bomb. So I don't know how that would work with bombs and stuff. But even a base HP is still pretty good. So if you built a resist team with the block damage to some extent, so you could sustain your debuffs, sustain your buffs, she can do the healing job on her own. I actually might need to look at it. It's just whether or not I can fit her into my comp, because everyone's got a role in the sense that, Vizier's got a role, Whirlim's got a role. Vrask, she could overtake Vrask, to be honest. I think she could out heal a Vrask.
Okay.
In terms of just because every 3 turns and she'll full heal. It's a complete full heal.
Yeah, I mean that's gnarly, to be honest.
It's great. I actually might do that. The problem is now we've got 3 Doom Tower rotations, right? So if I wanted to mess around with Bomb, I'll have to wait 3 months.
True.
I mean, most people would be like, "Thank God I don't have to do it for 3 months."
But yeah. I mean, that's my take on it. 100%. I was just like, I don't really want Bomb.
I've got champions built now specifically for Bommel that I can't use. And I was thinking I'm gonna have to rebuild Deacon for this clan boss team. I was thinking, he's built at the moment for Dark Fae, and it's like, well, it's no point because I'm not using Dark Fae for another 3 months.
It's scary how much the game's progressed in, even over the past year, with like us now needing these things. And it's something that we were talking about as a part of the team anyway, where we said that we felt that this time last year was kind of a point in the game's kind of evolution where again everyone was kind of feeling that the game was lacking something, and then all of a sudden we got hit with all of this content. And I feel like we're almost in that stage right now where it's kind of the waiting period, and I think Polarium planned this, and it's kind of the quiet before the storm when we're about to hit we've got Halloween, then we've got Thanksgiving events, then we've got Christmas events, then we've got New Year events. And then in the new year, suddenly they're going to start dropping their New Year content for the
we'll probably get another
a roadmap.
Roadmap. I was going to say, we'll probably do another one now, because if you think the last one was about doing rotation bosses, clan versus clan improvements, and a couple of things, we haven't really got an up-to-date roadmap now.
What's on the roadmap that we haven't already had? So there's
so I talked about it a little bit.
Hydra boss is on the roadmap.
So I talked about it a little bit in the video that it's either gone out today or go out tomorrow on the HH Gaming YouTube when I was looking at Clan XP, and there was a Reddit thread.
That one will go out tomorrow, so that's Saturday that will go live.
So there's a Reddit thread where a Russian content creator interviewed Cyrilla. I think Hell Hades did a video on it, and they listed like 20 bullet points of the current focus of the team, and it's recent. It was about 4 months ago. And in there, they were talking about Battle Pass Season 2, which is surprising because we thought they'd killed that. They were talking about Hydra Boss, and they were talking about clan versus clan PvP.
That sounds cool to me.
So those are the three things. So they were basically saying clan improvements was their main next focus, and then their main priorities was then Hydra and clan versus clan, proper PvP, not the CVC tournaments.
What people thought clan versus clan was going to be.
Yeah, which they said a tournament was never meant to be a competitive environment. I'm like, isn't that what a tournament is? But anyway, we digress. It's clearly a whale war. So yeah, I mean, it looks like Hydra's still on the table, but we haven't heard anything from it. Battle Pass Season 2, I would have expected to hear something. But if we think of when Battle Pass Season 1 happened, it was around about Christmas time. January, winter. So that's probably going to be around when they're going to do it. I would imagine we're going to get, after this sort of fusion, a bit of a, this is what is currently coming up next. We know tavern improvements are meant to be in the works, but we haven't seen anything of that yet.
Dupe system, we know is
coming. Dupe system, which we've heard apparently is aimed for the end of the year. That's what they said. Like, obviously they haven't committed to any date, which I understand because it's going to need some balancing to make sure it's right. I would like to see some more detail about what they mean by empowerment specifically.
Yeah, because that's the one thing that we don't really know too much about. We saw some of the buffs that you get from the part where you just drop your dupes in, but the actual empowerment system. And that's kind of the scary one for the community.
It just depends what they mean.
Yes.
So
like how powerful are these duchesses going to be? Is the concern.
It's more like the problem that Plarium have is they don't understand the value of their game. So in terms of like value of things in the game, they do it based on averages and community usages, right? So to them, plus 10 speed is not valuable. But to us who understand the game in detail, if I have a champion that can go plus 10 speed over any other champion, that is literally unbeatable. That is broken strong. That's like adding 5,000 attack to that champion in terms of like mentality speaking.
Yeah.
So if they empower a champion to have more speed, that's worrying. Now, they have said it's going to be similar to the way that they do Great Hall. So to me, that feels like it's going to be another column on the stat sheet, which is empowerment. Now, is that going to be 1% of the overall stats? Now, Great Hall, they don't touch.
It's got to be decent, otherwise it wouldn't be worth doing, surely.
Well, the Great Hall, they don't touch the speed. Now, if you think they can do it 4 times, so a 5% increase makes sense on attack because the highest Great Hall is 20% unless you're in plat. So that makes sense. And if you think about the max ones in Great Hall, 20% on attack, 25% on crit damage, maybe plus 80. They're not going to do plus 80. They'll probably do plus 30, right? Plus 40 maybe on the accuracy. The question is whether or not, when I was thinking about it, there's 2 ways they can do it. The way they scale champions is based on a sort of a base number, a very small number, that number nobody who plays the game will see really. It's like a 20 or 40. And then that number will get multiplied based on its star rating, ascendancy, and level, essentially. So that's how they scale all the PvE content. So when you look at, say, someone in Dragon 20, he might have a level of 220, as an example. Sure. To make it harder, they just increase the 30 levels. And because it's on that multiplier, it's on a standard formula, they have more attack naturally because they're a higher level. And then they might have a greater HP pool because they're a higher ascendancy. So what I was thinking, one way they could do it is you basically go, instead of level 60, you go level 61. So you get basically more base stats.
Okay. Now that's important. Yeah.
Because it may only be like 40 more base attack, but when you have like 100 or 300% more on that 40, that basically, if we just did some quick maths here and say like we increased the base attack by 40 and we times it with 300%, that's 120 more attack.
Yeah.
So it'll scale based on those things. That was one way I thought they could do it. And then obviously you would add more each time. So if you basically went up 61, 62, 63, 64. The other way they can do it is the way they do Great Hall, which is like a flat percentage on top of whatever you've got, but it's off your base stat. What that means is if I add 5% attack, or say plus 40, then if I increase accuracy, in battle, it'll be the overall. But if I try to do it pre-build, so my 60% attack is only going to be working off the base stat. Whereas right now, if they increase the base stats, that 60% attack from a chest would also benefit from that. It would be almost like a double benefit.
Sure.
So I would imagine they're going to go Great Hall route. It's easier. Mm-hmm. Basically, I think it'll be, if you empower the champion 4 times, you'll get 20% base stats, health, defense, and attack.
So do you think that their intention with this dupe system is kind of going to be in a linear fashion where it would or they're intending for people to fill up all the slots with the buffs first, and then you empower champions as like a final
I
thing? Or
think it's meant to be a permanent solution.
yeah,
It's a better way of looking at it. They didn't just design a system that goes like, so the obvious solution they could have done was, hey, here's a bad champion, just re-roll it into another champion.
yeah,
The problem with that system is you always leave someone upset, because if I re-roll the champion, unless it's a guaranteed non-dupe and I get another dupe, I'm going to be really, really annoyed by it. They're also not going to have it as like an unlimited amount of times, because if I just keep re-rolling, eventually I'm going to get a champion that I don't have. So they would have put a time gate. So if I basically had like a month gate, I can only do it once a month, I roll the champion into another one, I get a dupe back. That's a bad feeling for me.
yeah,
The way that they've done that option is the life tokens. And I think that that's probably the best of a difficult situation, because I don't have to do the life tokens because I've got other systems. But if I did, say like it didn't apply to any of my things, I was never going to empower it. I just wanted to get rid of it. I've got a Drocko. I'm never going to empower the Drocko. The faction might not be invaluable to me. So I just want to get rid of it because I really want the Fushan. Now that's great.
sure.
Because you basically limit the options. So I can choose whether or not I can get a non-dupe. If I've got all those champions, I can ignore it and they're going to rotate the shop. Perfect. But they can also control the fact that you don't now just have the ability to roll your champion until you get the non-dupe. So the person who's trading the dupe gets a good feeling. Player maintains what they want, which is the revenues and everything else. That's a great solution.
Yeah.
The other two are really, I think, designed to solve the problem of what happens if I've got a lot of duplicates. Now, for some people, they might be able to fill both, but not empower. People like Hell Hades did a little look at his account. Now he's got a big account, a long account, and a whaled account, because he obviously did it for shard pulls, videos, content, blah, blah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Probably not the biggest whale in the game by a mile.
Oh,
no, some of the players at the top, like Mac-chan has got, I think, 4 necrets. Something crazy like that,
That
so
is obscene.
There's one guy in what is the company? Not the company, I'm thinking New World there. There's a clan, ET, I think it is.
Yep.
I think his name, in Eternal Titans, I think his name is Splits or something. He's got basically 12 Tomb Lords. So for him, he's probably going to go, I'll just fill up my faction and then I'll just use the rest on one of my Tomb Lords, burn it. So because I have the most powerful Tomb Lord in the world. But it's designed as a permanent solution. And because you need pairs, 3 dupes is not good. So for me, I've got 2 duplicate Kreelers. I can only use one of them unless I pull another dupe. And it's actually going to be very hard for a lot of players to fill their Guardians and empower one champion. So they've designed it to be we never want to have to deal with this again for at least another 2 years.
Yeah, it's going away. Here's your solution, guys. Enjoy, and we're going to go work on some other
Which is
content.
fine, because I think they had to provide a system, because the dupe system was not good for any, at one point a year ago, it was, well, it's only the people who spent a lot of money that are really having a problem. Now, as you've played it for longer, you just naturally gather duplicates. I've got about 20 in my vault.
Yeah. And
I haven't whaled super hard. I've spent money, but I've not whaled in that sense. I've not dropped £1,000 each month on shard pulling. No. So they had to do something, and I think the systems they've introduced are probably good. I just wish that the last capstone of Guardians would be crit damage, not speed, because I think the speed is a big barrier, considering how far you have to go.
With that.
And
it has
really
the potential
difficult
to mess up so much that you've organized in your teams as well.
But it's more for arena. It just means that now if you don't whale and someone else whales in the arena, you've got that almost like barrier, because they're always going to be 10 faster than you.
Yep.
So is it just
which is a massive amount when you're talking arena?
Huge.
10.
I took my Arbiter from 340 to 350, 10 speed. And I now win 95% of the 3v3 battles in Silver 4, where before it was a 50-50.
Yeah.
That's how big, and that's at Silver 4. We're not even talking about Platinum Arena, where probably the decisions are being made by 1 or 2 speeds. Yeah. So if they change that to crit damage, I think the Guardian system is nice, because there's 2 ways you can look at it. You can look at it and go, I haven't whaled hard enough, I can't fill my Guardians, but someone else can. Or you can look at it and go, oh, I've got a duplicate, I can just get an extra bit of stats that I didn't have before, which is nice. And typically you only need like the first 2, because the 30 accuracy and resistance is quite low,
Yeah.
in my opinion. It's not a lot. You're not missing a lot. The 10 speed is a lot higher. And then you've got, I think the last one is defense. So unless you really need defense nuking, the first two are basically health and attack, I think. I don't know what the other one is. But those first two are really important because health is the more valuable defensive stat in more areas, such as arena. And attack, obviously, if you want to hit really hard and get big numbers, attack's the place you want to go, which is what I want to do. I want to see how hard I can make my Turvold hit.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think across the board, really, there's just a lot of stuff in the works that we're expecting, and we are expecting big things from this because we've been waiting for a while. We've got the dupe system, we've got talks of a real CVC, we've got talks of the Hydra boss coming out. There's there is so much coming in the next 6 months or so, and it's a bit like everyone wants this stuff right now, but when we look at how the game was a year ago and how far it's come now, it's a massive difference. And I think in 6 months time from now, we'll be looking at all this stuff and it's like, wow, okay, we don't even recognize the game anymore.
There's going to be new systems that you've got to think clan boss has been solved so much now. Hydra needs to give us a new challenge.
Exactly.
Give us speed tune or something else to really baffle our head with and figure out how to make it a really cool thing. As long as it doesn't become Hydra, which is just 3 clan boss teams of 3. Like, please don't 3v3 clan boss.
Yeah, it's going to be 3v3 clan boss. You're just going to need double the man eaters.
Can you imagine?
Or triple the man eaters, in fact.
3 individual ones. I'm actually there's so much they could do with it. If they've got 3 different heads, maybe all of them are different affinity, so you need a different affinity for each boss. Maybe you have a bigger team.
That would be very cool. I would very much think that 3 different affinities at the same time would be a very, very cool concept. But at the end of the day, until we know more, it's only speculation. And I expect big things, and we'll just see sort of where it goes over the next few months.
I'm actually excited for Battle Pass, and I agree with Hal Hades. I cannot understand how it didn't work.
Yeah.
Like basically you buy a card and then you have loads of quests and missions. You give people a reason to play the game. Advanced missions is a reason to play the game. Even if it doesn't give you anything of big, those rewards are nice and everything.
It keeps you logging in every day.
I'm not doing it because of the rewards. It's because it's progress. It's something to move towards. And I think I just can't understand why the Battle Pass didn't work.
There is a reason that games like Fortnite and other successful games are running Battle Passes.
League of Legends is a great model. Look how well they've monetized their passes. Every event has a pass. That pass gives you more tokens than normal. You can still play the game without the tokens.
Yeah,
that's the way it should work. Now, it could be that they didn't balance the rewards right. Maybe they gave too much in it. That's fine. But to me, I was like, maybe that's why they're coming back with it now. But to me, I was just like, I can't understand how it didn't work. I can see where the monetary thing went wrong because they put a lot of rewards in there. Like for a new player, when I started, I bought the Battle Pass because I was like, this is great. I'm getting Stag Knight, I'm getting Whirlim, I'm getting all these like 6-star speed accessories. Some of them are great. I still use the boots that I had for Battle Pass on one of my champions because it triple roll crit rate. So they were really good pieces. But I'm looking forward to that.
It doesn't need to be as extreme as it was before in terms of the rewards to still make it worth players investing in it. And I think people would.
Just make it as good as the advanced missions and then you're great. And make it challenging but not impossible. Please don't make me do skinwalkers with spiders. No, I don't want to have that kind of challenge.
No, please no. So I was going to touch on New World briefly in this podcast as well. And I know finally Saphira has come and joined us over
I've joined the cool gang.
We are on the server.
server.
Yeah, so if any of you guys are on the New World hype train still and you do want to get involved in our company, do make sure that you get in touch with us on Discord, come over and play. We are on the Helopia server in EU, no longer on the Helheim server. So we're hoping that we're going to be starting getting some events and stuff together as a lot of people in the company are starting to edge towards that level 60. It gives us more opportunity to get involved in wars and battles and things like that. So I think probably in the next week's podcast, which will actually be a Halloween special,
Spooky.
Just throwing that on you.
I'll get my witch's hat.
Yeah, exactly.
Somewhere I'll find one.
I think we'll try and get Hell Hades on and tell him that it's fancy dress.
then-
However, none of us will turn up
Tell him
in
that
fancy
now.
dress.
He might watch the podcast.
Let's pretend for a second that Hell Hades watches the podcast. So this
Of course he does.
So this is the challenge here, guys. Does Hell Hades watch the podcast?
So what we're gonna do now is
we're gonna tell him that it's a Halloween special podcast that we're recording next week, and we are not gonna turn up in fancy dress.
no, this is gonna be great.
Oh, I hope this works. But we'll see.
Here's the rule: if you watch this podcast, you cannot tell Hell Hades what is going on. Don't ruin the surprise. Okay. The plan is we're going to tell him his fancy dress.
Yeah.
We'll see if he watches this, because if he turns up next podcast in fancy dress and we're not in fancy dress, then it's clearly he needs to watch our content, and that's a staff meeting discussion point already.
This is the best idea we've ever had.
We just come up with it on the spot.
Yeah. I don't even know if he's going to agree to the fancy dress, but last Halloween, me and Hell Hades did do a fancy dress stream. We did a horror stream where we played Phasmophobia.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And he had the whole face paint and stuff done of Hell Hades. So I'm sure he's up for it. We'll just tell him he just needs to turn up.
Lady H, tell him.
Yeah. We just tell him that he has
to
turn up in a witch's hat or something like that, and we'll see. But
yeah. He doesn't need to go as extreme as last time with the full green face paint and all that kind of stuff. That was a bit too far. We're not expecting miracles here.
No. But yeah, until next week, guys, thank you so much for listening. If you do enjoy the content that we're putting out on the channel, please do subscribe, give us a thumbs up, and we will see you next week for our Halloween special.